Welcome to Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, the Liberated Lawyer. I help women to get everything they desire in life by equipping them with powerful strategies to achieve the fulfillment they desire and deserve. Who said you can't have it all? Clearly, they did not know about living life in the end. When women make powerful decisions and create great strategies, they can have everything they desire in life. Girlfriend, forget about choosing between being successful or fulfilled. You can be successful and fulfilled. It's time. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose. It's time for you to live a life that is fulfilled, meaningful, and full of joy. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. If you are going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the End, where you learn how to live fulfilled, fit, and free. This episode was brought to you by the Successful and Fulfilled Woman New You Transformation, a VIP day for the high achieving woman who is ready to be successful and fulfilled. If you are a woman who feels burned out and uninspired, or you are a woman ready to start over after a divorce, death, or other disruption, or you are a mother whose children are ready to leave the nest or are already gone, and you are now ready to create a meaningful life for yourself, or you are a woman who's approaching your golden years and you want the next half to be the best half, or you are a woman who's ready to get more out of life and ready to stop marking time and start living life, then we need to have a revelation conversation. Go to www.everythingideserve.com to schedule your complimentary revelation conversation, where together we will talk about where you are now and where you want to be, and begin to develop a plan to get you where you desire to be. You will leave your revelation conversation understanding the first thing that you can start doing today to begin living a successful and fulfilled life. Hey, it's time. It's time for Musing from the Mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life in the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. I have been in a season of reorganization. I've been in my home now for 3 years, and I had a revelation earlier this year that I have been moving around the same furniture and recreating the same spaces for the last 10 years, really. When I moved from my home from Mississippi to Alabama, I took all, of course, the furniture I had there and put it in this new house and even repainted it the same colors as before and just recreated the same spaces in a new home. And then when I left Alabama, praise the Lord for leaving Alabama and moved to Georgia, I stuffed furniture from a 4,000 square foot house, most of it, into a 1,100 square foot apartment. And as you can imagine, that apartment was overflowing. But I had a baby grand piano, many of my antiques, and just wanting to again recreate that space. And then when I moved into my new home, where I've been for the past 3 years, I did the same thing. I even went and got stuff out of storage and recreated those spaces. And I had a revelation about that earlier this year that, you know, I'm tired of looking at the same things. And this is not just from a style perspective or an interior design perspective, but I realized how my new space reminded me so much of the old space that it really was stifling creativity in some respects. And I got really committed to decluttering my home. So I spent the first part of this year with several decluttering projects. I literally took all of the things out of my kitchen cabinets, all the dishes, all the food, everything out, got rid of a lot of things, reorganized it, and organized my kitchen cabinets according to functionality. I am a baker, but I'm not a frequent baker. I really only bake for holidays, and especially since I have been on my bodybuilding lifestyle, I really don't bake. But all of my baking things were on the first shelf. Now, for those of you who know me, you know I'm all of 5'3". So the bottom shelf on the cabinets is premium space. But everything that I used frequently was like on the second and third space. So I would be in the kitchen literally cussing and fussing because I couldn't reach anything. And I have to get the step stool out to get to the things I use every day. So one of the first things I did was just again to rearrange my cabinets according to functionality. I did that in my master bedroom. All of my all of the items in my uh, bathroom are organized in the order that I get dressed. So I have all of my body oils together. Y'all, I got like 50 million body oils. I love me a body oil. I hate to see me coming, but I have all my body oils together. I have all my face products together. I have all my hair products together, but I also have them organized in the order that I get dressed in the morning so that I'm not looking all over the place for what I need. And it really has trimmed time and frustration in getting dressed in the mornings. So I have been on this effort to really revitalize my space. And I realized also recently that my house is a lot darker than I'd like. I love light, y'all. I love light. I love light. And my favorite colors of furniture, I like light furniture. I like light walls, light furniture. And one thing I realized is that all of my furniture was dark. I have a lot of family antiques, and for whatever reason, many of them are dark woods. And I was looking around in my space and I'm like, it's just too dark in here. Literally, it's too dark in here. So I committed to repainting all of my furniture and I've switched some things out so that I have more color in my space. So I love golds and whites and or creams really. I don't like stark white, but I love cream and golds. And I wanted a really colorful couch. And the couch that I had, one, it doesn't fit my space because my living room is, it has a big old baby grand piano in it. And it takes up most of the space. So that means the available space for the sitting area is very small. And the couch I had was really too big for that space. It wasn't the right shape for this space. And I hated the color. It was this ugly, well, not ugly, it's just a dull oyster color. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen the color of oysters. It's like this gray, right? And I'm like, every time I looked at that couch, it made me sad. It made me mad. It's like, I hate this couch. I don't hate the couch. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the life I have now. It doesn't fit the room. In somebody else's living room, it would look magnificent, but I hated it in mine. So I have reorganized, rearranged all of my space. Why am I telling y'all all this? I know you're like, okay, girl, we don't really care about your furniture. You may. This may be something you need to do. But the real point is this. It made me really think about if I have space for the fulfillment I desire. Because when I looked around my literal space, I realized that it was filled with all this stuff, filled with stuff from my past, filled with stuff I don't like, filled with stuff that doesn't fit the life I have now. And it made me really think about, why am I filling my space, my figurative, no, literal space, physical, I think is what I was combining with my physical space. Why am I filling my space with these things that don't fit where I desire to go? Why am I filling my space with all these old memories or with these old things or with broken things? I'm filling my space with things that take away from my joy and expecting myself to be joyful in a space that doesn't fit the joy I desire. So that's the real point. And the question I want to ask you: do you have space for the fulfillment you desire? And I had kind of the second part of my revelation is that if I desire to be fulfilled, I need to make space for the fulfillment I desire. So I have committed to creating space over the next 3 months. And 3 months just happens to coincide with the final quarter of 2024. This will actually be an ongoing process, but there will be a concentrated effort to make space for the fulfillment I desire. And I determined that there are 5 areas where I must make space. The first I've already alluded to. I need to make space in my home. Make space in my home for peace, love, and joy. I want to see bright. I want to see light. I want to see clean. I want to see new. And that's something that I encourage you to ask about your literal space in your home. Does it feed your joy or does it drain it? And this is not necessarily an invitation or encouragement even to go out and replace all your furniture and buy new stuff. I'm not necessarily advocating for that. That may be what you need, but the simple act of decluttering your space and ensuring that you have space to literally move about and that the space that you have in your home actually allows you to be joyful. Because if your space is inundated with boxes and papers and old stuff and piled up, that literally has an impact on your psyche. I cannot tell you how light I feel, how much lighter I feel since I've literally lightened my space. I don't cuss when I go in the kitchen anymore. I literally, y'all, would cuss. I'd get angry when I would open up that cabinet and I couldn't reach anything and couldn't get to anything. I would get angry getting dressed in the mornings and couldn't find anything. I would get angry every time I walked into my living room and saw that oyster gray couch that didn't fit in my space. And so, since I have replaced the couch, I have this beautiful aubergine, which is my favorite, one of my favorite colors, aubergine, which, if you don't know, that's like eggplant purple, very rich purple. I was afraid, though, this is a digression. I ordered it online. I was so afraid that couch was going to get here and look like Barney. Because sometimes the way it looks online and the way it is in person is two different things. And just like I didn't want no oyster gray couch, I definitely didn't want no barn couch. But lest I digress. Anyway, but ask yourself, does your home fit the life you have now? Because it could be that your children have grown and they've left the house, but your house still looks like your children still live there. Or it could be that your spouse has passed away and you still have all of their things in your space. And while I'm not saying you just throw out all their space because they're not there, but there's an emotional connection to having someone else's, things in your space. So it could be just that the life you once had is there every day in your face by the furniture and the arrangement. Because sometimes it's something as simple as a coat of paint or rearranging a room or opening the blinds and allowing light to come in. Because all I did was I repainted two pieces, but they used to be this, it was a beautiful brown. It just was dark. They used to be this beautiful brown color, and I repainted them this lovely, like light gold. And the light gold gives it's metallic, but it's also light and it also reflects light. So it's literally lightened my space. I got rid of this big old dining room table. I love the table. It's an antique, it's a family antique. It actually belonged to my stepdad's mother. And I've had it as my dining room since 1997, literally. I've had that table as my dining room table since 1997. And it's just me. And I got this big old dining room table, and I don't entertain anymore. I don't entertain often, and when I do entertain, it's small groups. So I don't need this big ass table sitting in the middle of my space. I got rid of that table and replaced it with a light, kind of a whitewashed, grayish, but still light, not oyster gray, table. And it literally has lightened the space. And I can move around. When I walk in to the kitchen from the back porch, I'm not running into a table. I have space to walk. It literally has changed my whole dynamic. When I come downstairs and go into my living room and I see my beautiful aubergine couch and my light colors, I get happy. I don't cuss because there's a oyster gray couch that doesn't fit in my space. So, lest I digress, ask yourself, does the space in your home allow the life you desire now? Does it reflect who you are now or who you desire to be? For me, I want my life to exemplify peace, love, joy, bright light, clean, new. That is what my space is transforming to be. The second thing that I had a revelation about is I need to have space in my finances for the abundant living, giving, earning, investing, and saving that I desire. I have some investments to make in myself, in my business, but I don't have space in my budget. So, what do I have to do? I need to rearrange and reprioritize how I'm spending my money so that I can make space for the abundant living, giving, earning, investing, and saving that I desire. And that's something that, we need to be honest about. We want all of these things. Everything requires an investment, everything you do requires an investment. But we don't have space for it. We're not making space for it in our budget. And I'll say for me personally, I fill up the space with stuff that I don't really need. And the truth is that if you're constantly purchasing things mindlessly and you're not intentional about your spending and you're not prioritizing what it is you desire in your budget, well, you're not going to have space for it. When the time comes for you to make an investment in yourself, You want to invest in coaching. You want to invest in a retreat. You want to invest in a new wardrobe. And yes, that is an investment. You want to invest in the equipment or resources to open a business or to expand your business, whatever it is. If you have filled up all the space in your budget with things that aren't necessarily adding value to your life, then you're not going to have space for the investment that you need. So ask yourself, is there space in your finances for the life you desire and deserve? And if it's not, begin to reprioritize how you spend and identify opportunities to increase your income, lower your expenses. Y'all, now this one was something that I thought was just really, really great to think about. I need to make space literally in my calendar for all of the women I desire to serve. Because y'all know at this present time, I still work full time. I go to work every day. Actually, I go downstairs and go in my home office, but I work full time. And I also provide coaching, and I also record my podcast, and I also have other business adventures. Well, I've got to have space in my calendar for what I have set as my goal to accomplish. I need space in my calendar for coaching, for producing, for putting on live events, for hosting retreats, and using my voice to impact women. So, if I fill my calendar with things that aren't necessarily adding value to me or others, I'm not going to have space for the impact that I desire. So, I'm literally blocking time on my calendar to hold space for the women who are waiting to have a VIP day with me. I am being more mindful about ensuring that at the end of my healthcare innovation workday, that I have time on my calendar to work on my business, to work on my podcast, to do the things that are going to enrich my life, which in turn allows me to enrich others. So, the question I have for you, for the things that you desire in your life, do you have space in your calendar to hold them? At this stage in my life, I am simplifying everything that I do. Time is finite. It just is. I only have 24 hours in a day. I need to sleep. I'm not a spring chicken. My bounce back ain't what it used to be. I need to sleep. I need sleep. I don't do well on 2 or 3 hours of sleep. I don't do well on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. 6 hours. All right, I'm trying to work with some. It's rare that I get to sleep 8 hours. But my point being, I need to sleep. I need to eat. I desire to go to the gym. I desire to play golf. I desire to be with my honey. I desire to see my family. I desire to go to art and music and other events. I desire to invest time in my business. Well, if I don't make time on my calendar for that, when it comes time for me to do something that is attached to my purpose work, I'm not going to have time to do it. So I have to make space in my calendar. The next thing is making space in my life for joy, peace, and everything that I desire and deserve. And this is somewhat of a mixture of what I've talked about before, but you've got to make space in your life for joy. Time to dance, time to laugh, time to be with people you love, time to experience joy, time for meditation, time for prayer. I have a fairly regimented schedule, but what I have really committed to is ensuring that my life reflects the joy and fulfillment I desire. And my life is not perfect. I don't have everything together yet. I have not, figured it all out, but I do believe that I'm making space in my life for joy. And making space requires two things. You literally create space, you add to, or you create space by removing things that are presently in your space. And you may not be in a space right now where you're able to buy a bigger house. But how do you maximize the space that you have in the house that you presently own? Or, you may, just need to look at how you are spending your time and what you're committing to. But you have to make space in your life for joy, peace, and all that you deserve. And the last place that you have to make space is in your mind. We have to make space in our mind to be able to imagine, to be able to create, and to be able to dream. Because if your mind is muddled by mental illness that's untreated, or your mind is muddled by just the stresses and negative things that you're dealing with that have not yet been expressed through therapy, or if your mind is confused, a confused mind does nothing. You have not, you don't give yourself time to think, literally. You're always, every minute of your calendar is so booked that not only do you not have time, but your mind can't even hold space for something new. You've saturated your mind. Sometimes we've saturated our mind with things that are numbing us, that are negative, that are weighing us down. And this is not a knock on television, but I don't watch TV. I don't watch TV. I have a TV. I'm spending $116 a month, y'all, for cable for a TV that I don't watch. I literally have not turned my television on. I don't even remember. Because I used to watch Game of Thrones, the reruns. I didn't watch it when it was a lot, when it first came out. I'm watching like all the reruns and stuff now, I guess on Netflix or wherever it is. And I love House of Dragons. House is it how the House of the Dragon? We don't never say it right. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. House, I guess it's House of the Dragon, but I like to call it House of the Dragons. But anyway, I like that, but I never did watch season 2. And it's just because right now my mind needs to be filled with things that nurture the mindset that I desire. So I listen to audiobooks that help me to learn something. I listen to podcasts, mine and others. I listen to music that is uplifting. One of my favorite artists is Londrell, y'all. If you've never listened to Londrell, you need to. I had known about him for quite some time, but like for the past 2 weeks, his music has been in constant rotation. And for those of you who don't know, he's a spoken word artist, and but all of his lyrics are uplifting, and they're really meditations put to music. And Tony Jones is another person that has affirmations to music. But literally, we need to make space in our mind for growth. Because if you're filling your mind with trash, and I'm not going to say that one thing is trash or another, but I'm just saying if you're, I will say this because I did my dissertation on this. I did my dissertation on the impact of reality television on the leadership identity in young girls. And I will not watch reality shows because I believe they sensationalize negativity and they portray women in particular in a way that is just so unhealthy. And none me and my friends, we don't act like that. And so I just refuse to watch it. But anyway, lest I digress. But the reason, and this is literally the reason I stopped. I remember years ago when I used to watch the one of the housewives, I think it's Housewives of Atlanta, because I love the fashion. That's why I would watch the reality shows. I love the fashion. And I turned it on, and like within 5 minutes of turning it on, they were yipping at each other, and my energy just drained. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I never watched another show because I'm very sensitive to people's energy. I just am. And so I know that if I expose my mind to negativity, I will absorb that and I will embrace a negative outlook myself. So I don't put that in. I make space in my mind for positivity, for growth, for honesty. I'm not rose colored, I don't block out reality. But what I'm saying is, you have to make space in your mind for ideas and imagination and creativity. Because if your mind is muddled with foolishness, your mind is muddled with gossip, your mind is muddled with stress, your mind is muddled with, you know, people who are tearing you down, you won't have space for ideas and imagination and creativity. So you have to make space in your mind as well. And I'm a big proponent of mental wellness. If your heart is hurting, you go to a cardiologist. If your mind is muddled, get yourself a therapist. And if you need medication, take that medication. No one feels bad about taking high blood pressure medicine to control their blood pressure. If you are experiencing mental illness and you need to be on medication, take your medication and don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it. That's taking care of yourself. You know, have a therapist. I have been in therapy regularly, I would say, for the past 2 years. I've had the same therapist for the past 2 years. And there's not necessarily anything quote wrong, but it is great. It is a great outlet to have someone who is non-judgmental that I can share my stressors with, or just share whatever's going on with me. So that's something that I just encourage you to do, is to make space in your mind. And sometimes we have to make space in our mind through therapy and medication. And there's nothing wrong with that. You should not be ashamed of that. And you should advocate for your mental wellness as much as you advocate for your physical wellness. So I don't want to belabor the point, but I hope that what you take away from this is the importance of being intentional and ensuring that you have space in your home, your finances, your calendar, your life, and your mind for the life you desire and deserve. If your life, your home, your finances, your calendar, and your mind are all filled up, there's nowhere for joy to be. There's nowhere for fulfillment to live. And so we've got to get rid of things. Sometimes we got to get rid of people. Sometimes we got to get rid of bad thoughts and habits and actions that are totally within our control, so that we have space for the life we desire. So, the powerful question that I ask of you today: do you have space for the fulfillment you desire? And the answer is no. Then I believe you know that your next step is to begin to ask, how? How can I make space for the fulfillment I desire? Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for joining me from another Musing from the Mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts that help you to live your life in the end. I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. But most of all, girl, I hope you do something. Fulfillment won't happen simply because you desire it. It will happen because you decide to go get it. Let's get it. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Living Life in the End for the successful and fulfilled woman. Please be sure to let me know what made you feel something, what you learned, and what moved you to action. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on a great conversation. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast and let me know how you are living life in the end. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. tell someone else to listen for themselves. We should all be fulfilled. Remember, your life is the product of your choices. Choose to commit to bringing the desires of your heart to completion. You don't get what you deserve until you get what you decide. Life is too long to be unfulfilled.